We're just about a month away from our fantasy drafts, and there are already 5 players that I am destined to leave my drafts with no matter what. Shout out to Vontae Mack. Starting off at the quarterback position, it's going to be Anthony Richardson. And yes, I'm a Gators fan, but let me tell you why. This guy is going to be dynamic. And I know that right now everyone's saying that they have him as a top 2 quarterback or a top 3 guy. I'm not there yet, but I will tell you, he's going to be great for our fantasy football teams. Currently, he's going at the end of the 5th round in ADP as the quarterback 6 off the board. I think that makes sense. I have him as my quarterback 6 in my fantasy rankings, but I think he's an early 5th round value, even a late 4th round value if you really believe in Anthony Richardson or if you're at the turn and you just want to get your guy. But Anthony Richardson has a great offensive line. He has like a great group of weapons around him, from Jonathan Taylor all the way down to a guy like Alec Pierce as a 4th option in his receiving room. He also has a great scheme and a coach behind him. This is a guy that in the first 3 or so weeks when he played last season in his rookie year, he was a top 10 guy on a weekly basis. So if he comes back, you only have to imagine he's going to be smarter at the NFL level. Hopefully that can translate to his dynamic ability on the field as well and produce us a lot of fantasy points. But I think in the 5th round, I target this guy as much as I possibly can. How about the running back position? We have 2 running backs here that I want to talk to you guys about, and they both are going at the end of the 8th round. So if you want to take one a round early or a round late if he falls, they're absolute steals. James Conner is one of them. This is a guy that, yes, he's older and he's not necessarily in his prime anymore, but he has everything to just dominate for another fantasy football season. Right now, he's going against the running back 27. To me, I have him as the running back 20, and I think he's a 6th round value, and he's going in the end of the 8th round, as crazy as that might sound. But I think James Conner, again, has everything behind him to be elite in Arizona. Now, this might be his last elite year in Arizona, but he has a lot of opportunity. He's the main running back. This team addressed the offensive line heavy in the offseason and especially in the draft. This is a great scheme that is centered around the running back position. Again, John Gannon comes from that Kyle Shanahan tree where it's a run first and then let the play action open up the pass later on in the game. We saw it last year firsthand that when Kyler Murray came back and this offense had a legitimate quarterback threat, this is an offense that was still dominated by James Conner. And James Conner had a great second half to the season once Kyler Murray returned. He's going to have him for a full season now. I can't see why he's not going to dominate. And at the very worst, he's going to return your value in the 8th round, especially the end of the 8th round. James Conner, to me, I think could be a top 20 guy, and you get him as basically a second string backup. So why not? Let's go get him in 2024. The same can be said about John Brooks. If you don't want to go for the aging veteran that might not have an elite season like James Conner, let's go after a young guy in John Brooks. Jonathan Brooks, of course, running back out of Texas, who, yes, he had an injury in his last collegiate season, but he's had a full year to recover. He's going to go into an offense as the first running back drafted this year, and he's going to have the keys handed to him from day number 1. But like I mentioned, end of the 8th round, he's going as the running back 25. To me, he's the running back 22 currently, and I think he's a 7th round value. So again, you're getting this guy at the end of the 8th, basically a 9th round pick, and he is, to me, a guy that's a value of a 2 rounds higher. So John Brooks, he's a receiving threat. He's a rushing threat. Chuba Hubbard is really his only competition. So I look at it as there's no true competition. And this is a guy that if you didn't get to watch him at Texas, he's just so dynamic with the ball, whether if it's in the receiving game or the rushing game. Dave Canales has used his running backs heavy the last 2 seasons, whether if it was in Seattle or last year where James Cook had or whether if it was Rachaad White in Tampa where he had a breakout year, especially in the receiving game. He's going to utilize John Brooks once he gets used to the NFL level, and I cannot see why this guy won't at least return value on the 8th round selection. But to me, I would take him as high as the end of the 6th round because of how much potential John Brooks have. He might get off to a slow start, but this is a guy that's going to finish as a top 20 running back, in my opinion. How about the receiver position? On the thumbnail, you knew he'd be in the video, but Cooper Kupp. I understand that he's far away from his Triple Crown year, but right now he's going basically as an early 4th round selection as the 20th receiver off the board. I think he's still a top 12 receiver. And to me, I think he's an early to mid round, early to mid third round value. If I'm at the 101 and if I go McCaffrey at the first pick, I love to get Cooper Kupp at that that 2-3 turn. Excuse me. But Cooper Kupp to me, I think has amazing upside this year. I think he's finally healthy for the first time in a couple years, and his workload has never been easier. Now with Puka Nacua looked at as an emerging threat, right, and a potential superstar receiver by teams around the league. So Cooper Kupp's not going to be double and triple teamed on some plays like we've seen the last 2 years. This is a guy that's in a great offense. They're going to score a lot of points. And to me, if you can get a potential top 5, top 7 receiver late, I guess at the end of your third, early fourth round, that's absolutely insane value. And at the end of the day, I know Puka had an amazing season last year, but Cooper Kupp was hurt for the majority of it, even when he did come back late in the year. And Cooper Kupp is still Matthew Stafford's favorite target. Let's not forget that this is a guy that had a triple crown year with Matthew Stafford. I understand Puka's there. He's competition, and he's going higher for a good reason. But if you can get a potential top 5 receiver this late, I love to get my hands on Cooper Kupp here in the third or even the fourth rounds of my drafts. At the tight end position, it is Trey McBride. I told you guys last year, and if you watched the channel, of course, you can go back and fact check me. This is a guy that I was raving to you guys about, and he was a guy that was going undrafted in most leagues last year. I was telling you guys to grab Trey McBride, and he had a breakout season. This is a guy that's going as an early 5th round tight end, as the 3rd tight end off the board. But again, he's my tight end 3 as well. I think he's a 4th round value, and this is why I like him. Sure, do I think that Kelsey and Sam Laporta are ranked higher in my tight end rankings? They are. But here's why I love Trey McBride and fantasy more than those 2 guys above him. Because you can get him 2 rounds cheaper. If you look at these guys on the same tier of tight end this year, as far as Laporta, Kelsey, and McBride, you want the last guy in that tier that can finish as the tight end 1. So if you can get McBride 2 rounds cheaper and you can stack your team at other positions, why not? Trey McBride should be the go-to guy at that position if you view him on the same tier as the top guys on your list. To me, he's the go-to target in this offense. It is an offense that is, his only competition is a rookie wide receiver. And I know Marvin Harrison is not a typical rookie wide receiver, but Trey McBride to me is the go-to guy in this offense. He's going to be the safety blanket for Kyler Murray. And this offense is going to be dominant and centered around Trey McBride and James Conner. So yes, if you can't tell, I'm a big fan of the Cardinals this season as far as fantasy football. But quick look here at the board here, and let me see if I could shrink my face cam here for you guys to see at home. I made this graphic where, of course, position, the name, where they're going in their ADP, and where I have them as far as my rankings currently. Now, as you guys take a look at this list, if you enjoyed today's video, drop a like, subscribe to the channel. We do 2 fantasy videos a week, absolutely free, and I don't charge you guys a dime. So if you're interested in that, of course, subscribe to the channel. But until next week, where we cover some more fantasy football, I'll see you guys then. Stay happy, stay healthy. It's fantasy season.